folks, Paul Phillips here with Patek Photography and Gear Reviews. Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at the brand new YN560-TX. It's a manual radio trigger from Yongnuo. And if you've watched our channel in the past, you probably observed that when Yongnuo came out with the 622 ends, I wasn't impressed. I don't see any point in giving reviews that aren't valid, so this is my first impressions of this unit. I'm very happy to say that I think Yongnuo has done their homework on this one. I took it out of the box, I put the batteries in it, it worked from the get-go. It seems to do exactly what it says it'll do. I'd even go as far as to say, you know, from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the poorest, this review is 10 out of 10. I think this is a solid product. I think it's going to change the game for a lot of people, especially if you're used to using 563s. As your manual speed lights. So the whole idea of this manual transmitter is very simple, is that this mounts onto the top of your camera and you can control your speed lights remotely, very much like the Phottix Odin. The big difference is the Odin does manual and TTL. This unit only does manual. But for studio work, for a number of different applications, especially for amateur photographers, this is a great way to learn how to use speed lights off camera. I think you're really going to like it. Now, the build quality on a unit is pretty good. I mean, it's typical Yongnuo. And when I say typical, I mean, you know, comparing the build quality of the TX to the 560 version 3, it's comparable. I happen to like the 560 version 3s. They're quite reliable. I've had 2 of them for a couple of years now. You know, this device here, the build quality is pretty solid. Very similar to the Phottix Odin. It mounts on the top of your camera like so, with the LCD panel facing you. So let's do that. Let's mount it up. Put it on, tighten down the bolt, turn the camera on. And to turn on the unit, in the bottom right hand corner, is very straightforward. Just one little button, push it up. And as soon as she powers up, you'll see the red light come on here. And hopefully you can see these speed lights. I'll put them over here. Hopefully they're not going to blind you. So there's a couple of things that are really great about the device. First of all, it sits on the top of your camera, so line of sight is very easy. You have A, B, C, D, E, F channels. So you can simply set up each speed light on, you know, whatever group you want or whatever channel. In this case, I've got A, B, and then I have this one. This is an SB600 mounted on a 603 manual trigger. So first of all, the difference between the Yongnuo and the SB600. You can use the transmitter to totally control these guys. So if you want to go from 1 to 1 to, you know, 1 to a quarter, 1 to 1/28 power, you can switch from manual to multi-mode to control the 563s, no problem. You can fire your other speed lights using the 603, but you can't control the output from the transmitter. Okay, so that's the difference. So in my case, where I have, you know, 2 560s, I'm probably going to go out and buy 2 more, and then I've got, you know, I got 4 speed lights, which is going to be more. It just, I mean, I could use the SB600s and trigger them if I'm doing high key or something like that. Just set them on full power to blow out the background. But still, I got to walk up and change the power on them, which is a bit of a pain. So I think, you know, from an overall first impression of this system, I got to say, like 10 out of 10, just go out and get one, because, you know, for the price of a 560 version 3 speed light, which I think is about 70 bucks. So, you know, the transmitter is 50, is 120. You add another one of these, $190. You know, if you like using speed lights, this is the dream kit, really, as far as I'm concerned. So now the other thing I really like about it is, as you can see here, I've got one of my 603 ends plugged into the camera as well. So we'll fire the camera first of all, just using the regular shutter release. And hopefully I'm not going to blind you. But you can also plug in your 602N and fire things remotely. And that, to me, is, you know, that's something really fantastic. I mean, it just makes life so much easier. You can also use, you can have another one in your pocket. So to me, you know, if you're doing self-portraits or you're out in the field and you need to fire things remotely, it doesn't get any better. I mean, this is a great system. I'm going to show you a close-up of the LCD panel and how it works. It's fairly intuitive. One thing to, you know, just the main thing to keep in mind is that you can use a manual transmitter and fully control the output of your 563s. All you're doing here is firing the speed light with a 602 end. And what I mean is that you've got to go to the back of the speed light and change the power output manually. It's not a deal breaker, but it's just, you know, something you need to be aware of. As far as packaging on the kit, it comes in a nice little box like so. The instructions aren't too bad, to be quite honest. I mean, it takes a little bit of interpretation to get things going with them. Like I said, this unit came from the photogadget.com. It was a box in a box, so this is the big box, came wrapped in bubble wrap. You know, this is what you get. Put a couple of AA batteries in it and away you go. Okay, so let's take a close-up look and I'll show you actually how to use the LCD panel on the unit. So let's take a close-up look and I'll try and walk you through as much detail as I can. So if you want to turn on the TX, you simply hit the button in the bottom right corner. You notice the first thing you see is RF603. In the instruction manual, you can change it to 602 if you've got the older 602s. Nice LED display. If you want to change the groups, you simply press them like so. There's C, there's A, B, C. Long press on the group button switches to D, E, F. Another long press takes us back to A. Okay, so if we hit the mode button, we're switching between multi, and the two dotted lines mean that that speed light won't fire on group A. We're taking it back to manual. Okay, if I hit the bottom button, as you can see, it's showing us the 1/3 adjustments on the top right here. If I hit the buttons on the left or the right side, now I'm going full stop increments up or down. Okay, and let's turn on the 560 here for you. Oh. Okay, so I guess the trickiest thing to get going, to get the transmitter to firing the speed light, is that the first thing that you want to do is put the 560 into RX mode, and you want to set your groups to match the group on the transmitter. Once you do that, then whatever you do on the transmitter is going to be mimicked on the speed light, and I just hope you can see this okay. So I'm dropping down like so. Let's climb back up, full stop increments. If I hit the third stops, shows up, you know, quite clearly on the LCD screen here. It shows you the dip switches, how they're set, and they have to match the dip switches on the transmitter. Fairly straightforward stuff as far as I'm concerned. There's 1-to-1. If you want to zoom, there's 105, 80, and you can probably hear the speed light every time you change the zoom adjustment. The motor works. If you want to make, if you got another speed light set up and you want to make another adjustment, just drop it down to the B group, and then come over and change your buttons and do exactly the same thing. So very straightforward to use. That's the one thing that I was looking for. I didn't like about the 622 ends was that they were a little bit finicky with how you had to set your full stop adjustments and your ratios. But this system is very straightforward, so I think it's definitely going to be a game changer, even for amateurs. Just, you know, for 50 bucks, go out and get one. So just a couple of thoughts in closing. One thing I missed earlier, if you set your transmitter to group C because you want your 603 ends to be on group C, you have to make sure that if the dip switches are all down, or whatever the dip switch setting is, you got to go into the back of the 603 ends And make sure your dip switches are set the same as they are for Group C or Group B, whatever you're trying to fire them with. But once they're set the same, and so these have to be set the same, so if this unit is connected to your camera and you're using another unit to fire them, they all have to be set, dip switches have to be set the same. But once you do that, it's pretty straightforward. The other thing too is that right now, this is one of the first production run units. I think they came off the assembly line June 25th, and I keep reading and hearing different things about firmware upgrades to this unit. So Yongnuo may have plans to build other functionality into the system as time goes on. Yongnuo seems to be maturing quite nicely as a camera product provider, which is good. Just be aware that this system works right now with the YN560 version 3s. There are slight variances in the capabilities between Mac and Nikon. I was going to say between Nikon and Canon, but you can read up on that, their website, and find out about that kind of stuff. There's something about a proxy mode that works on the Canon units, which is allow this system to work with the 622Ns, the new version with the LCD screen. Bottom line, I hope the review has been helpful to you. I'm probably going to do a couple of shoots in the next couple of days using this system, and I'll try and get something up onto the web as soon as I can. But you know, I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, you've got our link, and shoot us an email. I'll try and help you out as best I can. All right, that's it for this one. Don't forget to subscribe and like us. I shall see you next time. Bye for now.